we can reuse on the website later on. Okay, so again, thanks for joining everyone. I'll keep admitting people if they join. Maybe just to start and warm up. I'm sorry, Neil, I didn't get the video ready. I just didn't have a chance. But maybe you could start, Gordon, by telling us a little bit about your Aikido and when you started practicing and where and why.
Why is a good question. Started in, the jury's out, but we reckon about 1967, and started a little club that was run by William Smith. And there was about 6 of us there. Really, no one. He was blue belt at the time, and no one had much idea about what it was all about. We were a satellite dojo of Ralph Reynolds, and he was a sort of big noise in the area in Birmingham. And his students, there was a lot of, it was several, there was 100 and so. But I mean, there was Donovan Waite, Peter Brady, Chris Mooney, Mario Flasky, Tony Cassells. They were all students there, but we were sort of out of it a little bit when he used to visit us once every couple of months to do gradings. And he used to finish the class off by walking behind us and putting out his hand on our head and telling us our fortunes, which was a bit odd. But he was a bit of an odd guy. I took my green belt with him, and he was feeding his dog polo mints on the mat while I was taking the grading, so it wasn't too great. But anyway, that's when I started. I don't know why I started. A friend of mine started. Do you want to come along with me? And I said, yes, okay, we'll give it a go. So I've never really been into football or running. I've got short legs and a big body, so. But I mean, I think that I've done a lot of roller skating as well. So I think the combination of having a low centre and a decent balance made Aikido work for me. But there we are. That's the rest is history.
Did your friend keep going? Did your friend keep carrying on practicing that you went with?
No, lasted 3 weeks. Then he realised he could go and see another girl without telling his missus, the usual sort of story. That was more appealing than being thrown around the mat. So
wow. And can I ask, while everyone's just warming up, and like I'll go quiet in a second, what made you go back for a second class?
I don't know. There was just a nice atmosphere there, and I was intrigued by it more than anything else. I was sort of reasonably fit and strong young guy, so the self-defense aspect wasn't the contributing factor to me starting. I never thought I'll do this because I want to whatever. It was just friendly people, and it was just something different and something new, and I thought I'll give it a go. So I've got no ambition at all, no sort of idea that I was going to get anywhere or do anything or make any contribution at all. But there you go. That's it. Yeah.
It's quite funny you say that, because in my limited experience, I always think the ones that come along and are intrigued or interested are the ones that stay. The ones that come along all guns a-blazing are the ones that kind of seem to disappear quicker, I think. So yeah, that's something I must admit I see consistently.
Yeah.
There's some good kind of background there. I'm going to go quiet for a second and see if anyone else has got anything they want to chip in.
Is it what you thought it would be, Gordon, when you started?
Well, I don't think really anybody knew what it was anyway. So it wasn't going into something that was already established. It was a constant I mean, it's a learning curve now, but in those days, it was just, no one had any idea. But they were looking at books and going on the course they went 6 months ago. And, it was nothing. There was no, but maybe, I don't know, the whole of Birmingham was maybe 150 people practicing. Out of a billion, so it was very, very, small minority that were interested in what we were doing. But of course, then it sort of developed into the karate and the judo thing was integral to it, and how it went to grow as an offshoot to that.
Was it that same kind of time when because I guess that's when martial arts were kind of growing in the UK, isn't it? Especially in the West Midlands.
It was a bit later than that. I started teaching when I was about first dan, and it was about the time when Bruce Lee started, which was the big sort of take-off point. And I can remember we put an advert in the local paper. It was about 2-inch column, and we had 70 people start the next night.
Wow. You've still got
And
those words.
yeah.
Try them now.
No, we had lined up both sides of the dojo. There was Alan Smith started. I think Martin started, and Seeley. No, Seeley was later, but yeah, certainly, a few are still around. And yeah, we whittled down half the next week and half of that the next week, and end up with 2 after about 20 years. But there we are.
Wow, yeah, that's quite an impressive turnout. That, yeah, if you can got those words, I think we should try and reuse them and see if that works. That'd be nice to get that.
Yeah.
So it is a quite interesting one. Then, do you find that these days you're mostly teaching? Do you still get any chance to practice yourself at all?
Practice when I can, and do what I can when I can. I had a bit of a health problem 3 or 4 years ago that sort of knocked me back a bit, and it took a little bit of effort to try and get going again. But I feel like I'm still contributing to what guys are doing, and the interest for me now is to develop them rather than sort of seeing a development in me. Maybe that's the answer.
Again, I'm going quiet now again, just in case anyone else is going to chip in. It's not an awkward silence, I hope. So if you're still practicing, then what would you say is the last thing that you learned or you were focusing on?
I said before, I've done a little bit of the Ido over the last 6 months, and that sort of changed some of the perspective of my training. But I think it's an evolving process. I don't think there's any one particular thing that you learn. I think you sort of start off from A and just go on a journey through the class and see where it ends up. The senior students help that process along, and the end of the night, well, that was like so and so's class, that was like Suada's class or Casarada's class. That sort of thing. A lot of influence that, if you allow it to come out, will change what you're doing. If you look for results, both in the technique and in the learning of it, I don't really think you'll get anywhere.
So I guess one of the kind of historical questions, going back to those for a second then. So can you kind of share with us who you consider were your main teachers or main influences in Aikido?
Well, I started off with William Smith, obviously, and we remained together for 40 odd years. And he was a great influence and a great guiding hand for me. And, I put a lot of effort into what I was doing with him. But he sort of gave me an insight way above my pay grade, if you like, about what was going on in the big picture, and to the exclusion of some of the other more senior students. So then he started his second dojo, and I travelled, every night to go. So I was doing 2 nights a week then, and he sort of, he gradually we got to be good friends. We had our arguments, lots of our arguments, a lot of falling out and apologising afterwards. But it was, but that was over the last few years, the last 5 or 6 years he was alive. But obviously, Chiba Sensei was the other great influence in my life in every respect, and learned so much from him, and tried to understand him. And I suppose those two people are the main focus. Of where I'd see influence.
And how long would you say you were a student of Chiba Sensei for?
Well, he graded. I started in 1967, and he graded me second Q in 1970-71, and he graded me every grade from there to 6th Dan in 2002.
Wow!
So I think I'm the only one left in the country that's got his signature on every grade from 2nd Q to 6th Dan.
Wow!
So yeah, that's a claim to fame, I think. So I was with him for 25 years.
Yeah, I was just quickly trying to do the maths on my fingers to see how long that was. I bet.
Interestingly enough, it took me, when people complain about the time of distance between the grades, it took me 20 years to get from 4th Dan to 6th Dan.
Wow.
I did the first 2. I mean, he graded me every 18 months, 2 years when I started, like first dan, second dan, third dan. We're within 6 years of each other. You know, they were straight after one after another. And then it sort of got to fourth dan, and then it slowed right down then, because I think he'd sort of left the country, you know, he'd gone back to Japan, this sort of thing. So he sort of lost the direct connection. But, yeah.
Just to add into it, on the background of me.
Oh my God, I've been looking for that photograph everywhere.
It's on Guy's wall.
That's Dave Bushell. That's Roger Duras and his wife there. And there's Mr. Jones as a young lad.
And a guy called George.
George, yeah, exactly. A long time. This is 1969.
Yeah.
Wow. And where was that?
That would have been West Heath Dojo, Sensei? West Heath Dojo?
Yeah, West Heath, yeah. Yeah, that was the class.
Wow.
So not too many of those practicing right now, I guess.
No, actually, I think I'm not even sure about Roger these days, to be honest. Jordan, I think it's. I certainly Dave Bushell packed in a long time ago because of knee problems. But when you look at the history of people who stick it, it's interesting what you said about, you know, when you get people through the door who are ambitious or very enthusiastic, they tend to pack in. I always say that's absolutely true. People who are over enthusiastic don't. Those who struggle a bit, who find it difficult and want to continue to understand and enjoy it and deepen their knowledge, tend to continue. And if you think about what Gordon's just said there, in terms of, you know, he had no interest in progressing, he just did it because a friend was there, then that in itself is justification for why he's where he is now. You know, I mean, you know, every time I practice with Mr. Jones, it's you know, he's still trying to understand it, still trying to understand the art of Aikido, how deep it is, how he can interest, you know, and affect his own Aikido and expand it, deepen it, create a deeper level of understanding with a more advanced level of being able to teach it as well. This is the mark of somebody whose life is Aikido and who we would say is a master, but who would say he's trying to master it.
Gordon, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So over the years, the UKA have had a lot of Japanese Shihan that have come across.
Yeah.
Which were the most difficult to handle out off the mat? And have you got any tricky situations that you got into with them?
No. I don't know. I think
good question, Neil.
Masuda was an odd man, but we can remember him, can't we?
Yeah, he was funny. He was funny on the mat.
He was, you know, he was all there. But, I don't know, difficult, but
okay.
Think about that, Neil. I'm sure there was occasions, and I can remember. But I remember we had Kobe for the first time, and the first thing he said when he came on the mat, he apologised because he sweated so much. Remember that?
Yeah.
First thing he said, "I perspire, so forgive me," because he was really, really nervous because the UK had this not reputation, but our history had gone before us. You know, Chuba Santi's students, they must be this or that or the other. And he came over with that understanding. And it took him a long time to understand that we weren't that. You know, we are our own people. And yeah, and that was and I wrote to Chuba Santi soon after we'd had that. And I don't know, I hadn't really thought about what I wrote, but I used to write to him quite regularly and update him on things. And I said, we had this guy, this Kobayashi Sensei come over, and I thought he was so good. I learned so much from him, you know, almost as if indicated more of him than I'd have Chuba. So I've got a very terse, typewritten letter. I hope you enjoyed your teacher. And that was the end of it. So, and I told Kobayashi this afterwards, and he was feared for his life every time Chuba went over to Japan. So yeah, it was funny. But we went to, Kath and I went to meet Sugawara, because he was the next one along the line, yeah? So I've told this story a bit. Anyway, we waited at Birmingham Airport, the terminal, and it's ever before we didn't know what he looked like. There's no photographs of him. We had no idea what he was. All he was Japanese, Oriental. So I can remember this he was actually Chinese guy, walks out of the reception, out of the arrivals. And I said, bet that's him, Kath, go and chase him. So she's running down the concourse, shouting, Sensei, 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 Sensei. And this guy turned around, frightened to death, doesn't know what on earth going, this strange woman chasing after him. Anyway, it wasn't him. So, and then he came and he was fine. They'd been really good. I think we'd really been lucky. I think Seki was probably the most difficult, I think. But I think it was because of the, the language problem and everything else. It was, But, there we are.
So it sounds like you've seen quite a fair number of teachers, and I'm sure there's even more than that you could name. I guess a big question to ask that kind of came up a little bit last week. We had Phil Smith talking about history of UK a little bit last week. How would you say that teaching's changed over from 67 till 2020?
It's a lot, not softer. It's a lot more sophisticated and mature than it was. We used to practice on a Sunday morning at the old Craig Lee, and there was Ian Smith and Phil and Mike Smith. And, if we didn't come away with a bloody nose or something at the end of the class, we thought we hadn't done very well. We were all, not competitive is the wrong word, but we were all full on all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that element has progressed more, and people are trying to understand what they're doing rather than just trying to understand how to throw the partner on the floor, which is what it was at then. But I think how teaching has changed, that I can't remember when it was. It must have been, I was about third dan, so sort of mid-80s. Chiba Sensei invited Yamaguchi. So we didn't know this, but Yamaguchi was the, level with Saito in the pecking order. And he was very almost abstract in his teaching. Huge circles, and you've seen Yamaguchi's film. The guy was unbelievably amazing. Didn't realise it then, but it was so different from what we'd been taught by Chiba. Direct, strong, powerful. This was a new concept of it altogether. And we thought, this is different. This will never catch on. This is not what we're doing. Almost dismissed it. But then you look at Endo, and that's what he did. And so the Aikido that Endo's teaching, is almost mainstream now to a degree. But when it was first introduced by Yamaguchi, 40 years ago, it was just, this is not right. This isn't what we're doing. Completely different. So it's come in a circle. It's the teaching stayed the same, but Aikido's caught up with it.
So I guess that's how the Aikido's changed as well then. I guess it's the same kind of thing that, when you started with the Aikido, it was very direct and go, whereas now there's a lot more thought into the teaching and the process.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe that's not completely the right thing to do. I think we should get more go in it. But, equally, Aikido is not just about throwing people around. The more you do, the more you understand it. The technicalities and the almost simple movements can create such an effect. That's what's attractive, rather than using it as a self-defense concept, which it isn't.
Yeah. Can I just go quiet for a second? I've got plenty of questions. Just give other people a chance first.
Gordon Sensei.
Hi, Ben.
Hi, when you took Yukemi for Chiba Sensei, when you watched Chiba Sensei in demonstrations, he looks rather vicious. Was it always vicious Yukemi from Chiba Sensei, or did he ever go a bit soft?
Yeah. Actually, he was very good with me. In overall, he stuck his boken in my eye once. That was a bit of a life-changing experience. sort of, I did this exercise with him and I did it wrong 3 times, and he sort of lunged at me from 6 feet away and caught the edge of my eyelid and split the edge of my eyelid, and he said, "Now do it right." And then he kicked me in the plexus a couple of times, dropped me on the floor, that sort of thing. And but I've been training with Will Smith a lot. I've taken him a lot, and he was, if Sensei was 100% hard, then William Smith was 80%. He was an ex-boxer, keep fit guy. So I'd tried, it wasn't a great shock for me. It wasn't, a shock. It was sort of that extra 20, 30% wasn't a great leap for me, where it was sometimes for other people. Well, they didn't last very long.
Wow.
So with all those changes, and I'm so sorry to touch on this, Guy, I did prepare this question a few days ago. What would you say makes a good instructor these days?
What makes a instructor?
Yeah.
Knowing the subject matter.
Yeah.
Start, and understanding what the students want from what they're doing, because people start Aikido for a myriad of different reasons, don't they? You've got big guy that wants to learn how to be a bouncer. All he wants to do is to do, strong physical. And you get, you could get somebody to join like I started with no sort of context part of Aikido. And it's understanding what they want from it, in order you can adjust what you teach them to what they want. I mean, Chi was saying that if somebody's very aggressive and strong and physical, you should give them a lot of exercise technique to do, not practical technique. And if somebody's the opposite, sort of very, withdrawn, you should give them a lot of practical technique. So that it changes them over, balances out. So you should end up with coming together in the middle somewhere. But I don't know. I think that you need to offer different directions. I think that's, the students will start with a and work, maybe 25 years, but you can end, it's right that they should find a way. They should work alongside you rather than under you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then they should be open and able and to go and experience other people's Aikido. The last thing you want to do, or last thing that should be, is to try to contain your own students in your own dojo by cajoling them, threatening them, or whatever, which is all gone on in the past. Then you should encourage them to go and have faith in your own abilities, that they'll come back again. That's that. You try and hold them, they'll go. No, that's the.
Yep. I did a scuba teaching course many years ago, and actually a lot of the course wasn't actually around how to put the kit together and do X, Y, Z. It was all about teaching and learning, which was really interesting, about learning styles and how to get people to stay and get them to come back and spend more money with you. And it's interesting you say that, especially about knowing what people want. That's a huge one that always comes up, because too many times I think you see, I don't know, I don't want to pick a profession, but people just stand up and do what they know, rather than try and figure out what people want and then encourage them in. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going
to just obviously as a student of you, Gordon, it's something that I've noticed, that you always allow people to discover their own Aikido, and so you have the likes of Kath that was training a long time before she moved to Ireland, and she's got a very endo style, but you always embrace that. You always embrace the kind of differences that people have and kind of nurture them. I think that was that's a really great quality to have in the class.
If you try and corral people to do what you're doing and follow exactly what you're doing, it doesn't take into account any of the sort of half a dozen influences within, size, age, flexibility, outlook to what they're doing, what their motivation is for doing Aikido. All these things can vary. What they're doing. So you've got to try and allow that, not try to force people to do what you're doing, because at the end of the day, it's a personal. You might not be doing it right, so it's no good me telling you to do this. You're doing this wrong when I'm doing it wrong in the first place. So just having that sort of understanding, let people. I think you've got to control to a degree, maybe sort of first, second down. You've got the structure, you've got the idea of what you're trying to do. I think the worst thing people can do is to stay with what they're doing and not try to not experiment, is probably the wrong word, but try to look at another aspect of what they're doing. And you ask me what we should be doing when we go back again. I'd say, don't go back in the same place that you left. You've got to move on from where you were, and you've got to try and discover within the parameters of what Aikido is about. You've got to because if you don't open your eyes and look at stuff, you're never going to see it. You just carry on practicing the same thing week after week after week, and all you're doing is practicing bad habits. So unless you can understand what you're doing a little bit better, then just don't go back with the same viewpoints as when you left 3 months ago.
The other thing that you've said is important as well for an instructor, Gordon, over the years, is that you're not going to be afraid of mistakes in front of people. It's very easy to get into a situation where you're standing at the front of the class and everybody's hanging on your every word. So then you feel that you've got to do what you've always done because
it works. It works.
That's it, and that's what looks good or whatever. And you've always said that you've got to be not to be afraid of making mistakes and trying new things, and being open to new things, and being worried about making a fool of yourself or being quiet or other people's judgment of you.
Yeah, that's right. Because that's the only way you'll get out of the sort of the rut of doing the same thing every week because you can do it. And that's when you go on courses and people pay £35 a day to go and see XYZ. And that's XYZ teaches something that is different from what they do every week. So what do? They do what they do every week because they can't do what's being taught because it takes them outside of the comfort zone. So therefore they don't bother with the instruction they're getting. They just want to do what they can do because it makes them either look or it thinks it either makes them look or feel good. So it's just a waste of time going on a course unless you open your eyes and do what's being taught, not what you can do or the newest thing that you think you can do.
Sensei, getting back to Chiba Sensei, I've got an image behind me of a rather young Chiba Sensei, 1967. I mean, this would be the image of what you would have seen as a Q grade in those days, and he looks very very unassuming there. But both you and I know there was a huge powerhouse behind this very young, fresh young face. I mean, what was it like to practice with Chiba Sensei in those days? I mean, it must have been quite incredible to see this young person being so powerful yet so unassuming.
He wasn't. I mean, look at if you understand where he came from. He couldn't speak English. He came over from Japan. Didn't want to be here. He couldn't understand the mentality of the British, in the UK. He got no money, so he couldn't earn a living at it. He couldn't understand why people that practice Aikido weren't there every day. It ends up in Sunderland, in some little flat in Sunderland, and they said when he left and came down to London, there was fist-sized holes in all the doors because of the frustration that he was under, because he spent his life so far learning and teaching Aikido, and he comes to this country. No one really cares a damn about it. There's no welcoming committee. Somebody's trying to make some money out of him, and they stick him in a flat in Sunderland before he comes down to London. and he meets or knows a Japanese karate instructor that basically put him up and fed him for about 6 months because he couldn't earn enough money to live. And so you can understand the frustration that he had, and the only way he could let that frustration out was on the mat. You know, I mean, you couldn't do it these days because I think you'd be sued for grievous bodily harm. Yeah, it's right. You know, it's sort of, you know, the stories of, you know, the incredible things I've seen him do, but also things of just sort of gratuitous, you know, energy for almost nothing. You know. He did a teaching course. He did about 3 teaching courses a year, and he was talking about he had this big Greek guy that actually joined the SAS when he left him. So he was that sort of guy, you know. And he was saying that when he started judo, you sort of met side by side, and you sort of almost held the little finger to start with. And he said, but now judo's no good. So he called this guy out, and he gets him in the sort of judo contact. He kneed him straight between the legs, straight in the crotch. And this guy screamed and dropped onto the floor. And we all sort of sat there with our mouths open. And he walked past him and carried on talking to him, talking to us, as if nothing had happened. And this guy's rolling and rolling around the floor. And he just completely ignored him, and then just carries on talking at quite a conversational tone about how things have changed and this and this. And we just sort of sat there absolutely, what?
Petrified. I would be.
What's going on next? You know, so, but anyway, there we are.
Yeah.
Sensei, I was watching, I remember you showing me a demonstration in 1980, you know, the Paris one that you were in.
Yeah.
And I was watching it the other day, and I wanted to ask, what grade were you then when you took part in the demonstration?
Third down.
Wow. Because I was watching when you did a kokinage, and it was incredible when I was watching it. It's really, really amazing. But yeah, no, as Guy was saying, you know, it's amazing to be able to train under you, and when we all get back again, it would be great to all meet up again and train hard. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, you know, it's nice.
Yeah, that was a real event because a lot of the really senior teachers are on that demonstration. Yamada and at the end there was Tamara, and because it's a very unclear picture, but Christian Tissio was taking you Kemi for dosha.
Wow.
The old dosha. There was Waka. There was Waka. The dosha, present dosha was Waka Sansa, and him and Christian Tissio were taking you Kemi for the old dosha. That was quite an event. You know, that's the first. Well, that's the only time I've ever met him.
Wow.
1980.
If anybody hasn't seen that, it's dynamite. I have to say, sorry to embarrass you, Sensei, but it is dynamite.
I can put the link on Facebook if you like, as we mentioned. I could even probably cut that bit of video out if you like and put it on Facebook for us to see.
That'll get some likes, Mark. I'll tell you what. You've seen it, Neil, haven't you?
You won't retain many students, will you?
Tony Cassels was taking your Kemi for me. That was the strange thing about it. You know, with the one with the hair.
Yeah, I'll have to. I'll dig that one out and I'll stick it on there. So, just kind of while everyone's coming up with their next questions, just quickly ask you about Japan. And how often have you been? When did you first go?
9, 10 times, I think now.
Yeah, to practice, obviously.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The first time I went was 3 months after Mr. Smith died. I needed to go and sort of try to establish. I tried. The intention was to try and establish some sort of relationship with me. Well, not necessarily me, but the UKA, because Bill had been held in a lot of high regard with Hombu, because he was a superior counsellor on the IAF, so he was well regarded, and all the senior students, all the senior teachers knew him well. And it was, I thought, well, I can't just leave this in abeyance, you know, I can't leave it floating. I had to go and try and make some sort of effort to you know, to get the ball rolling with the UKA. Interestingly enough, talking about people that start go into a dojo with a expectation. You know, we were talking earlier on about why people go to the dojo. The first time I went, I was met with this 50-year-old shaven head guy, this Japanese guy, and he was just absolutely destroyed me. In 20 minutes, I was completely gone. And it was just, I know now, it was just a test. You know, got this 6 down. He was an old Chiba. He's coming to practice. Let's work on him and see how he reacts to it. And how did I react, you know, aggressively or something like that. And that's, you know, and I didn't, because I didn't have the energy for it. But interestingly enough, I went to the lunch one. I was there for a week. After about the third day, Mr. Tani said, Doshi would like to meet you. So I went and I got this script, you know, ready. And anyway, Doshi comes into the meeting, got his very formal, you know, kimono on. And he just sat there and he said, what do you want? And I said, I don't want anything. And I got this, all I wanted to do was try and establish a relationship with him that not even the one, pick up the one Bill had. I wanted to have to start a new relationship with them. And the commitment to, you know, continued instruction from hombu and blah, 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 went on and on and on. After about, you know, I'd gone through this spiel that I'd got. Doshi seemed to change completely. And he said, what do you for lunch? And then he took me, 2 students, to this very, very expensive restaurant. There was lots of paper money when Doshi paid. And it was just, if I'd have gone in there and said, can I have, and I think he must get a lot of people going over there looking for something that he can give them. And I think he was just the same as walking into a dojo and, you know, on this and on that and on the other. And then, you know, trying to find a level that every sort of, it was an interesting sort of, you know, week.
Yeah.
But he got better every year I went, I started to get better and better. I was accepted a bit more and that sort of thing. So it was, you know, interesting times.
Wow. And are there any instructors at Hombu Dojo now or around that you find particularly interesting to watch or see?
I think Endo's fascinating, you know, but I've only ever been on one course with him. Took Ukemi for him twice, and that was like walking into a brick wall. You watch him and you think, this guy's, there's nothing there at all, you know. You watch him practice and teach, and it's so light and fluid. But I was practicing with a guy, and at he was 6 dan at the time, practicing with this guy at 6 dan from Switzerland, and we were doing Rumanage. So showmanship, and Endo came up and he sort of stopped us, and he performed Rumanage, and instead of sort of throwing me down, he lifted his knee a leg up almost vertical. His knee came right up in the air, and he backed over the top of his knee. So at one point, all of my body weight and his body weight was on one leg. And he flipped me over and landed on my head on the other side because I couldn't take you, there's nowhere to go. And he did it again, and he did it again. He did it to the guy from Switzerland, just the same, just to prove it wasn't a one-off. Just flipped us over, you know, one leg up in the air, one leg flat, flipped us over backwards. Incredible. Wow. Just, you know, amazing.
Wow.
Endo, yeah, Kanazawa, great, love him to bits. You know, he's really good. You know, he can offer us a lot. Obviously, Kobayashi as well, and Miyamoto, another fascinating character. So you know, yeah, lots to be going on with.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've kind of got one question left. I'm going to ask, so I'll go quiet for a second, so we can keep that in the bank, just to see if anyone else has got anything.
Neil's still got 3 questions. He's got.
Sorry, Neil. I feel like I'm riding over you, Neil.
I'm waiting with bated breath here.
was going to ask a question in the history, Gordon. Where did Kanetsuka feature in the history of Aikido in the UK?
Well, he came from Nepal. Some story about him leaving in the middle of the night and exiting it over the mountains because somebody was after him. So he came, but he'd done a lot of Yoshinkan in Japan.
Okay.
But he was, you know, he was beyond the pale if he'd done Yoshinkan. Comes over to London, and he had a sort of a long wispy hair, long beard, and he used to turn up at the dojo in a blanket, you know, with a hole cut in. That was his, you know, his everyday wear. And he was just one of the guys. And because I used to go down, you know, every few weeks to go and practice in London for the night. And but I was scared to death of him. He was really, really good. Really, you know, put the fear of life up you. But I mean, and then when Chiba went back to Japan, he sort of handed the mantle to him. But, you know, it was a bit sort of, you know, history's got a bit blurred then. So, you know, I mean, Bill was the next one in line. He was the head of national coaches at the time. So he was the next one down from Kanetsuka. But he seemed to have been airbrushed out of history for some reason. But anyway, there we are, another story. But, yeah, and then he just ran the BAF for however long. But he was a, you know, likeable guy, you know, but unbelievably talented in that. He asked Chiba Sensei what should he teach when he went back to Japan. And he said, Kokyo and Book 5. And that's pretty well all we did for about 5 years. And then when the examinations came up, the downgrade, that sort of thing, he would ask for everything that we were supposed to teach. But he never taught us. But when he did actually, you know, now and again, he'd really, you know, jump into it, and he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But he never allowed that to come out. It was just Kokyo, and Book 5. That's all we did.
So what was that second thing you said? Kokyo and?
Saito Sensei's Book 5.
Oh, okay, right.
So you go on course, and he'd start at page 1 and work his way through.
Right.
Anyway, okay. You know, not trying to take anything from the guy because he was really good.
Yeah.
But he was, you know, a strange outlook to what he was doing. Okay. Almost a wasted talent. There we are.
Well, we're coming down to the last few minutes now, so I'll ask my question, and then we'll go see if anyone else has got anything else after that. Have you been doing anything during the lockdown period to keep yourself sharp?
No, not really. I'm trying to visualize technique. I suppose that's probably a good, you know, trying to, you know, going through Shogunuchi Minagi on my own in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So that was always a sort of a, you know, trying to work out where my hip should be and where my hand should be and where hand should be up, down, and whatever. And imagine my imaginary partner, what the position they would take. So, you know, it's good.
Lots of visualization, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we've got to be careful when we go back because, you know, we've all had students that have laid off for 6 months and come back and expected to be able to do what they did 6 months ago. I think we've got to be careful that we don't go bouncing back into it again without, you know, making a gradual warm up to it. But, yeah.
I'm glad you said that, Gordon. Glad you said that.
Is that why you set us homework, Mark?
Push no, Martin. Where's mute? We had a couple of class sessions over the last week or two, and we've just started doing stretching again. And I've been in agony. I'm so surprised that just doing the warm-ups and have left me in absolute agony the next day. So I think that softly approach has to happen, really, isn't it? But yeah, for me, I found doing a bit of stretching is kind of about as far as I've got so far.
I'm still agonising over the Bokken Saburi.
Don't just see where I was in your shorts on a carpet, burned your knees.
Not that excuse, Guy.
Are you sure that's what it was, Guy?
Yeah.
They all say that.
So, brilliant. I'll go quiet for a second now and find out if there's any other questions. If anyone's got anything they're dying to ask.
No.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's John Kingsbury here.
Hi, John.
Hi, Mr. Jones. How did Chiba Sensei's Aikido change as he got older, or did it?
Great question.
Well, I think it matured in the same way that everyone's does. You know, they get older, and he moved. He was very, very physical for a long period of time, and then gradually he introduced weapons work, and I think that's how he saw his direction, and his task was to try and integrate the Iaido, Zazen, and body art within the weapons work, so they all became one thing. It's a very difficult concept to see, but he was still pretty hard up until maybe 5-10 years before he died. I didn't have that much to do with him later on in his life. The last 10 years. I had a row with him once. Flew across the table at me, put his finger in my face, and swore at me. I think that was about the last time I had too much to do with him. Yeah. But he's very uncompromising all the way through his life. You either did it or you left.
Yeah.
That was
good question. Thanks, John. Anything else? Anyone else got any other questions they're dying to ask?
Still waiting for Neil's 3.
I don't know if you burned them all up at the start, did you, Neil? Or are you on mute? I can see he's on mute.
I just wondered, Sensei, you've often talked about Chiba Sensei and his concept of big Aikido. I just wondered whether you wanted to share with people your understanding of what Chiba Sensei's big Aikido was.
What the big Aikido was?
Yeah.
You're breaking up a little bit. He used to, when he came up to Birmingham, he used to stop with Bill and Gladys. And Gladys never stepped foot on the mat, never did any Aikido at all. And he used to talk about her being part of big Aikido. And it was, sort of stuck in my mind then that it's not just a physical thing, it's how you interact with other people and your life and your universe. And I couldn't understand, I read a lot of books. Sansi used to talk about, you be at one with the universe. I could never understand that. But it's the universe is actually the place where you live and how you interact with people, how you conduct your life and so on. And I think, the move is sort of the art of Aikido is moving with people, not moving against people. And I think that's something that we all benefit from. And I think that we all share this common attitude to life. I think if you practice Aikido for a long time, if it doesn't gel with you, you leave. But if you do stay with it, it changes your outlook to the whole of your life, I think. Maybe you were that sort of person. I often ask myself whether I was the person that stepped on the mat for the first time and found it appealing because it fitted in with my nature, or because my nature has changed because of what I do with Aikido. But I know that I don't sort of get into confrontation easily and that sort of thing. And I think that's it's been a major benefit and joy in my life that I've sort of gone down this journey. That an answer?
It's a great question. Great answer as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll better bring it to an end now, I'm afraid, unless anyone's got anything they're desperate to ask, because we're a little bit over time. And that's it. Martin's showing us the Stella there as well. He's showing us his bottle's empty. I think he must be going to get another one. So,
I guess it's
Mark,
empty as well.
yes.
Mark,
Hiya.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, hi, Mira. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. It's a follow-up on the what you said just now about Gladys being a big part of Aikido, although never stepping on the mat. Obviously, we emphasize a lot on physical and technical aspect of Aikido. Who in the UK also focuses on the spiritual side of Aikido. not in UKA, but in UK generally, from hombu people?
I
Besides,
think the spiritual side's a bit of a minefield, to be honest. I think that sort of gives the wrong impression. I'm not spiritual in that way, but you know, I think that you know you lead your life in the principles of Aikido, and you know it's a great benefit to it. You know, there's no, you know, you try to work with people rather than against them, because that's what you do every night on the mat. You know, you're working with people and you're taking your chemi against people. So you're not. So if you look at any other martial art, no one teaches you chemi as a method of recovery. They teach it as a method of falling over and stopping down. And I think that the Ukemi in Aikido is knowing when to fall, stretch, fall, and recover. And I think that's a good indication of how life should be led. No, you're not going to, you know, something bad happens, you fall over and you don't recover, you crash and that's it. You absorb what you can, flex, bend, roll, stand back up again. I think that even the Ukemi part of Aikido is a role to lead your life with. Anyway, that's as much spiritual information you're going to get from me. I'll just go and sit under the waterfall.
So Martin's dropping big hints there again. Thanks, Miri. Okay, well, I'll say we're a little bit over time now, so I'm going to wrap it up. So first of all, Gordon, thank you very much. That's been absolutely fantastic. It's been a great session. Thanks for giving up a Thursday and joining us. Also, thanks to everybody else that's connected and joined in. It's been great to see so many people again from so many groups and organisations. Much appreciated. A shameless plug now that we've got another session the same time next week with Shihan Eddie McCallan, and we're going to talk about Aikido and weapons. So if you need another date for next Thursday, then we'll be here as well. So again, thanks for joining everyone. Thanks for all the questions. And Sensei, thank you.
Okay.
See you, Sensei.
Thanks,
See you later,
everyone.
Thanks.
Gordon.
Bye. See you, everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye.